People come down from Alaska, and it's affecting Mexico too.
We're here. We've started. I've hit the go button, and this is the San Carlos Computer Club, a small group this morning. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and I hope everything's working correctly because my internet's moving a little slow this morning. But it's good to see all you folks here with me. Good morning, good morning. I got an email from Judy that made it sound like she was stuck in a layover in Mexico City. So I doubt she's going to be able to join us. They missed a connecting flight. I don't believe it was any fault of their own, but the airlines. But she's stuck in Mexico City right now.
Carolyn and James are in San Carlos.
Yep, Carolyn and James are in San Carlos.
Well, where are they? They're not here yet.
Oh, they're probably still enjoying the weather.
They arrived last night.
Yeah, they got there last night. The message we got is they were sitting on their margarita deck enjoying the sunset.
Oh, nice.
With a margarita, I believe.
Cold beer.
Oh, cold beer, sorry.
Well, as it should be, right?
It's as it should be.
I'm dropping a link to our most recent document of possible topics into the chat right now, the in-call messages. If you guys want to take a look at some of the thoughts that I've been having, articles that I have collected over the last week or this morning, depending on where we're at. This is really doing a lousy job of broadcasting. Might have to replace this video just because the quality of what's going out is so bad. At least it's stable. It's definitely an internet issue, not a computer issue this morning. Oh, did I say that out loud? I don't dare do that. This is the document I just shared with you guys. I'm obviously not having an in-person meeting today, but a little update on the cars. We did get Yuya's other car running, so we're a family of 0.75 vehicles.
Well, we're a family of 0.0 vehicles at the moment.
What's that all about, Bill?
Well, on the way down, the brake, one brake in the back corner of the car started making noise. It was growling. So we took it in to have it looked at, and he says, well, we're going to have to redo some of your brakes. And we took it in this morning, dropped it off, and then got a Uber type ride back to the hotel. And they're going to let us know this afternoon when it's done. It's going to be around $1,200.
Jesus.
That's the sad part. The happy part is I hit a Royal yesterday for $1,000. So easy come, easy go.
Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah, and we're no longer Uber virgins. That's the first time we've ever used an Uber type ride. It was a Lyft, but it was same idea.
Did you?
What a painless experience that is. That's just awesome.
It really is.
So you'd use it again easily?
Oh God, yeah.
We will this afternoon.
We will this afternoon go back and get our car.
Yeah.
Should it be ready by this afternoon?
Oh yeah. We took it in and had them look at it last Friday, and they said they'd get the parts in, and we could have taken it there Saturday, but we figured we would much rather take the chance if it for some reason didn't get it done by the end of the day, rather than not have the car for 3 days. We'll have it. They could finish it off tomorrow. So. They got the parts, they got everything, and he said, I figure 2 to 3 hours because they drove it in and started to work on it when we left. And this is a guy we've used before. He's a small independent mechanic thing. We've used him before and really liked his work. And he's reasonable price and honest as far as we can tell, which is a good thing in mechanic shops. So
Yeah.
and they figured they'd be done. I figured we'll get a call somewhere at 12, 1 o'clock, and then we'll go back and get the car.
Is this a car or motorhome that you're?
No, the car. It's
car.
a little Honda CRV.
Oh, okay.
We don't bring the motorhome anywhere past the border. We've never, you know, and we would never take it on this long a trip until we're sure it's reliable.
Oh, okay. So you'll use the
it's our
CRV
little-
to get all the way to
it's
San
CRV.
Carlos.
It's what we drive around San Carlos all the time.
Yeah. I used to have a CRV.
San Carlos.
Hey, Bill.
What's that?
Bill. So you're replacing brakes?
Good morning,
We're
Jim.
replacing the entire engine on Maxine.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I know. Yeah, you can multiply the cost by about 7 times, I'm sure.
Yep, that's about right.
What was wrong with the motor, Jim? Like last it was manifold.
Yeah, well, it started out with some bolts on the manifold, and they got knocked off, and so then you had to drill them out, but the manifold was broken, so we're going to have to replace the manifold. And if we're going to do one side, we should do the other side, but then you don't know whether the engine is any good. Long story short, we just wound up buying a brand new engine.
Wow.
All right, brand new.
Brand new one, or is it a rebuild?
A rebuild.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
What year is your vehicle, Jim?
It is a 2002. Maxine's a little long in the tooth, but she's been outfitted for us just perfectly, and so I'm not willing to get rid of her.
Not willing to take her out in the pasture and shoot her?
Not ready to do that yet.
Well, to solve our car problems, we've decided to just bite the bullet and buy one of these stupid little cars.
Which stupid little car are you getting?
Well, we were looking at Hyundai, Renault. I look at the Nissan. Neither one of us wants the Nissan, but it's there. And so on Saturday, I started calling around to see if we could get a test drive. And I started with the Hyundai because I think that one is the one that makes the most sense. It's got the kind of clearance that we would want under the car. It's the kind of size and power we would want. It's the price that we can get into without it hurting us too much. And we're really banking on, and this is the other thing, is that the Hyundai has a 5-year warranty. 5-year warranty on the tires as well.
My goodness.
And so the thought is that we can afford to do it outright because we won't be expecting any real problems with it during that first 5 years. So we'll have very minimal maintenance that we'll be thinking about. The Renault, we actually really like the way the Renault looks. It's a slightly less powered motor. It's a 3-cylinder versus an inline 4. And it's got slightly less clearance underneath it, but we like the style of it. It's only got a 3-year warranty, and so I've been going back and forth on that because I'd much rather have the 5-year warranty. The Kia has a 7-year warranty, but it's way out of our range. Their most basic car is it's beyond the top end of what we would pay for a car right now. But it's not inconceivable to get a $12,000 to $14,000 car down here. And that's the price range that we're US. I'm talking to Canadians. I might as well say pesos. The car we're looking at is 252,000 pesos. Right?
So,
and I looked in the States for a car in the same caliber, and you're looking at $18,000 starting. And so this is like, I mean, they're definitely different cars. This is a Mexican car versus a U.S. car, but what I find very intriguing is these cars, they come with all the things that you expect from a car these days. They have airbags, they have entertainment info center, they have power windows, power locks, anti-theft control.
Anti-theft?
Yeah, yeah.
Something
Rear
to consider, Scott.
camera, all this in a very basic model car.
Scott, one thing to consider is the lower it is to the ground, the less likely they can steal the catalytic converter.
Yeah, that's another thing to think about.
Just saying.
Of course, they would have to have a market for a brand new car's catalytic converter, and they actually don't. That's why my car is so easy to steal, is because there's a market for Honda, old US Honda parts down here. But unless you got something being fixed by, like a brand new car with a 5-year warranty, who's fixing your car? It's the company that sold it to you. So there isn't this aftermarket of parts that people are looking for. Or at
Are you
least,
saying that my Honda CRV is a target down there?
yeah.
Shit.
That's what I'm saying. Is that being older isn't better in this respect.
I wondered. Am I old enough?
I digress, because the point I wanted to make was I start calling around to see if I can get some test drives of vehicles. And I start with the Hyundai, and they don't have a vehicle you can test. This is the car lot there in the Hyundai distributor in Hermosillo. It's like they don't have a car for people to test. If you want one of these cars, you have to pay for it and wait 2 months for delivery. And I told him, what if we don't like the car? And there's this 5,000 peso hook that you pay up front, and you forfeit if you want to return the car. So this is the car I'm interested in, but I'm not interested in any car if I can't try it out first. And so we've got an appointment with Renault for this Saturday to go check out their car. And we asked them, what's involved in it, because now we're a little gun shy. Like, how do we get test drive of these vehicles? They're like, yeah, we have the car right now that you can come test drive. We will call on Friday and confirm we still have the car. If we don't, we'll have to reschedule with you for the following week, because we like to keep a car, but then we might sell it. And so as soon as we sell it, we get another car for people to test drive. So I guess the only point I'm making with this group here is you've heard all those stories about autos and pricing and availability and supply and demand, and apparently it's happening here as well, big time.
Maybe it's worth your time while to drive up to the States and test drive what you think you would like, and then come back down and buy it.
Well, if I was up in the class vehicle like a CRV, that would work. Because they build, ever since like 2001, they've built the same vehicle for the United States as Mexico.
Yeah. Okay.
But this Hyundai doesn't exist outside the Mexican market or the Latina market. I think they're actually assembled in Brazil. And so there is no American equivalent to it. There's the low end car that they sell in the United States, which is $6,000 more than the low end car that they're selling here in Mexico. If that makes sense. But it's not the same vehicle, so it just, the point is moot. I tried Obregon. Hyundai only has 2 distributors in this area, one in Hermosillo and one in Obregon, and it's the same people. And since I came up with this plan, I've been scouting the local market, trying to find somebody out there that owns one of these vehicles so I can ask them for a test drive in it. But I've had no luck finding any of these vehicles in Guaymas.
Not on the Hyundai, which is it? The Tucson, the Santa Fe?
No, it's a completely different class of vehicle. It's way down at the bottom. It's called a an I-10. Gosh, what is it called? It seems like it has some. I've already forgotten the name of it.
So it's not a car you'll want to drive to the border? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, not at all. It's just a car that's not sold in the United States.
Oh.
You could drive it to the border, no problem. But there's nothing. It's built for the Latin market. And that's one of the things that I found so intriguing was how many extras come with the car, even though it's $6,000 cheaper than the cheap car being sold in the U.S. market.
Maybe there's a group on Facebook that of owners that tell you about it.
Oh, Paul, that's a great idea. I didn't even think of that. I'm actually trying to bring it up right now. Here it is. It's called a Grand. It's a Grand I-10. We were looking at the hatchback. I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
That top one you're looking at.
Yeah.
Well, around here they've been stealing Hyundais, and we don't know why.
Well, it's probably catalytic converters.
Probably.
Yeah, it seems like there has to be a market for them.
That's my question. How come when you have to replace your stolen converter, you have to go to the dealer and get a brand new one?
Well, yeah, I mean, that seems weird, doesn't it?
Maybe they're selling them to the dealer.
I just don't see there being a market unless they can sell them to the dealer. Because nobody's got an old version of these cars. It's the old versions that people are looking for parts for because they need a catalytic converter.
Yeah.
And nobody needs a catalytic converter for a 2022 or 23 car. So there wouldn't be much of a market for stealing them. I mean, unless you're stockpiling them. This is my big investment for 2030 is all these catalytic converters we stole. Anyway, I thought you guys would find that interesting. We were completely caught off guard. I mean, it can be rationalized very quickly when you've been paying attention to the car market in the United States. It makes perfect sense that it would trickle into Mexico as well. I think I'm fortunate that I'm able to look in a market of $12,000 to $14,000 cars because that does not exist in the United States anymore. Just like the United States, I was shopping in used cars, and they're typically, I mean, they may be a better class car, whatever that means to you, but they are typically the same price as a brand new one of these cars. Like Mom mentioned Tucson. I remember looking specifically at a Hyundai Tucson, and it was just an additional 50,000 pesos than the price of one of these brand new cars. But then you've only got whatever warranties left on it. I think the one I was looking at was a 2018. So there's no warranty left on that. And the majority of used cars I found were coming right up on their maintenance. They were right up at like 100,000 kilometers or 117,000 kilometers. Which means the next expense we would be expecting would be doing maintenance on the vehicle. So I think it makes sense for us to try and get into a low-end, brand new car with a good warranty. Just at the economic level we're at, I think that's the best protection we could have right now. So I will let you guys know what our Renault experience is like. because that we're scheduled to do this Saturday.
We'll have our fingers crossed for you.
Thank you. You know, it's the state of the U.S. car market that had us putting money into the car that got stolen, even though it was 20 years old. The Cuid, oops, not the Kier. The Cuid is the car in Mexico we're looking at from Renault.
You know, I think I would be concerned about Renault is where you're going to get parts and get it serviced.
Well, Chester, they have distributors in Hermosillo and in Obregon, and Renault has been in Mexico in much more abundance than in the United States.
Yeah, it'd be kind of rare in the States.
Yeah, whereas like Yuya's Nissan is a Renault. The Platina is a Renault, a well-known Renault. But they started distributing under their name right after they released that deal with Nissan.
Yeah, I think Nissan is actually more popular in Mexico than it is in the States.
Yeah, I agree. So this is the Renault we're looking at. When you do the math, I mean, we're not interested in the bare bones. We want to pay a couple extra to get a little creature comforts, because it will be a car that we will be using for a while, and if we can afford just a little bit extra, it'll be worth it, because we're getting such a bare bones car. But bare bones is pretty impressive nowadays. It's got the entertainment center, it's air conditioning, airbags, cameras for reverse. I mean, it's amazing what one of these basic cars has. Our biggest concerns are warranty and clearance. We don't want to beat up the car over the warranty period. But I suspect that either one of these cars, if we get into them, and to be fair, I like the Renault, how it looks, more than I like the. That's the, if you're looking at my screen, that's the Hyundai right there, and this is the Renault. That's the Outsider. I'm not actually interested in the Outsider package has these glamour things on the roof. It's got this whole look to it that just doesn't matter. And I'm not into stuff that doesn't have a utility. It's this one right here. It's called the Iconic.
Are you hoping to carry the Thule?
Well, I think, I mean, I'm going to have to really decide if that's, because I imagine it'll be a drain on it, but if we put the Thule on it, then we can go back and forth from the States. If we don't, I don't think it's going to be able to be used like that kind of car.
Oh, they're both very pretty. Don't get black. You'll be cleaning it all the time.
White or cream is good.
Cream, ma'am. Also, light silver is good, or light gray.
It's very similar to a four-door Volkswagen Bug, though. You can see there's just not. I would have to put the Thule on it.
That particular one doesn't have anything to hook it to.
There might be like I said, I haven't been in either one of these cars. The Hyundai has a better motor, more horsepower, maybe more legroom in the back, and a better warranty. More horsepower and better warranty. So even though I don't appreciate the style, oh, and it's got a hair more clearance underneath it. I think the Renault has 1.4 meters and the Hyundai has 1.5 meters clearance under the car, which unfortunately is the realistic expectations of living in Guaymas and San Carlos. Is one of the things you want from your vehicle is clearance underneath it.
Well, you don't see many lowriders in Mexico.
Well, you don't see them in the ranchitos, I can tell you that.
Well, that was a major problem I had with a Honda Odyssey. Was everything was so low, and then especially on the front end. Every time I'd pull up to a curb, I'd be scraping the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, topes are hard on the bottom of cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to think, there was a
Especially
Toyota.
if you forget to slow down.
Well, we could do an hour just talking about the poorly the poor signage on topes around this area, because you can't slow down if you don't know it's there.
Right. Scott, it looks to me like the Thule might be longer than the car.
Right?
That'll look good. You might
You know-
have lift.
You know what? You don't. That's not a bad point. I should measure the Thule and the length of the roof to see if it's even a realistic thing to be considering. I just assumed, but since it would be a hatchback, there would have to be enough room to open up the back. I wonder how far
Absolutely.
the Thule would end up hanging over the front, and if it would be front heavy. Just because of the amount of weight over the front of the car there would be.
Well, it might be really fun to see you do that. They might think it's just your board for your kiteboarding.
Yeah, right. Well, besides my car issues, I still haven't gotten the podcast back online. So that's still on hiatus. And I did bring some topics. Jim, you've joined us, and my folks have joined us. Let me just drop this link back in our in-call messages in case you're interested in looking at the document that I've created about topics for today. And, but you know what? I wanted to ask, Chester, did you get Jan's computer figured out? You were talking about it having a bunch of...
We partially have it figured out. At least she can now operate her online email. But what's happening is we keep having, every time she opens Google, we get pop-ups, and from McAfee and from Norton. And there are 3 or 4 of them, and one of them will say she has a virus, but we can't find a virus, and we're trying to figure out how to get rid of these pop-ups. But she's able to use her internet, and so that was the key.
What browser does she use? Are you having this problem in different browsers?
Having the problem just in Google.
Yeah, in Chrome.
Yes.
So if you went to Firefox or Internet Explorer, she's able to use those without a problem.
I think she used, she went to Microsoft, what's it called?
Edge.
Yeah, Microsoft Edge, and that took her to Google.
So that worked just fine for, and that's a genuine temporary solution. And
yeah,
Chrome,
she can also get rid of the pop-ups. She can just take her time and delete them. And unfortunately, she was tied up all day yesterday and mostly today too. So we're kind of on a hold.
Well, if it is Chrome that proves to be the issue, then there is a way to reset that browser. How come I can't type?
Well, I deleted Chrome program and reinstalled it, and it still pops up.
Well, let's see, because there may be stuff that is left behind in her particular. I'm looking for open Chrome, more settings, fine.
For a while, we were having problems because we had deleted what do you call it? What cookies? We had deleted cookies.
Mm-hmm.
But once I reset the settings so that the cookies are back on, then she's able to use her internet.
Well, in her in her Chrome browser, I would start by looking in the extensions, the add-ons, and just make sure that you understand every one of them that's in there. I'd turn off anything you didn't understand at this point to see if it goes away.
Okay, extensions and add-ons.
Yeah, let's see. What is the language that Chrome uses? The extensions. Extensions is the language. Manage extensions is what you're looking for. There might be a puzzle piece in your toolbar up in the right-hand corner, and that brings you to all the extensions. Here, let me. I'm going to share my monitor.
Three little dots brings you to the.
Yeah, I don't see the extensions popping out of there. Oh, there they are under more tools. So the three little dots, more tools. And then in the second section is one that says extensions.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, and on my screen right now, you're seeing I've got some extensions, some installed, some turned off. There's a little off and on toggle in the lower right-hand corner. And at this point, I think I would turn off anything I don't recognize and just go from there. If it's still having the problem, I turn off the things I recognize too. I might just turn them all off and then restart the browser and see if you still have the same problem.
Okay.
You might also have a problem where you see these extensions reinstalling themselves or turning themselves back on. And that might be a malware that's made its way into the operating system. And so something is sitting in memory, and when you make the changes, that something is changing everything back to reinfect itself. So just if you notice that behavior, then you've got something slightly more complicated to deal with. I'd also want to make sure, I'm going back to my screen, in the Microsoft security settings, that nothing has been turned off. I'm looking at this Windows security, and you see security at a glance, and there's just greens across stuff.
Those are all good.
Yeah, that's all good on Jan's computer?
Yeah, I've checked those on Jan's, and they're all good.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, I would suspect it's just the browser that's the issue.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. When she gets back today, I'll play with it. I want to do it when she's there.
Excellent. Has any other person brought any topics for today's meeting? Is there any news you'd like to share? Any experiences with your equipment? Mom has an M1 Macintosh computer. I have an M1 Macintosh computer.
I'm still hanging up. I had a problem just yesterday, and I was in Wall Street Journal on the browser. You know, I read the Wall Street Journal every day on the internet, and I was moving between stories and hung up. Took about 5 minutes before it all cleared up, and you said let it work its way through and sit here until it cleared up.
Chester, I don't remember the age of your iMac, but does it use a spinning hard drive? Well, it's that hybrid hard drive, isn't it?
Yes, it's the hybrid hard drive. And of course, you know, I'm running Windows on the Mac.
Yeah. But I also know you've been doing that for years now.
Oh, yeah, for years. Actually, the other computer that I think is 10 or 11 years old, the same computer, was what Jan was using recently, and it burned out on her. It just had a boom, and finally gave up the ghost. But mine is still running after, I don't know, 6 years or so.
Well, all I'm thinking is that hard drives, they typically are warranted at most for 5 years, and the reason is because they're mechanical, and they just wear out over time.
Yeah, this is the combination one.
Right. This is half solid state, half spinning disk, and actually the solid state side, it's not even half. Isn't it like a quarter of the
I'm
space?
not sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's like 256 gigs of solid state and 756 gigs of spinning drive. It's a 1 terabyte, I'm thinking. In fact, I should just look it up because it's a pretty. But what it does is it suffers from the same problem of wearing out. And I wonder
So
if
far
you
I can
could.
tolerate it. I really love this 26-inch screen. I hate to give it up. If I give it up, I'm going to hook up a larger smart TV and hook it into my laptop.
Are you able to identify exactly which Mac you have?
I don't know how to identify it.
Yeah, you might have to get into the Macintosh portion of it to see exactly. I'm just curious which model it is, because that would give us an idea of how easy it would be to change the hard drive that's internal.
Okay, it does not have a DVD reader in it.
Yeah, we need more info than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a site called iFixit. I use it all the time. The iFixit has been building disassembly and repair guides for years. And they've got a whole section in iFixit to help you try and identify your Fixit. I'm going to the wrong site here. I'm trying to pull it in front of me and I typed it wrong. I'm still typing it wrong. Look at that. iFitIt. Where'd my X go? There we go. And there's a section there where it'll be on my screen in a second where it'll try and help you identify your Macintosh. We want to look at some guides. iMac. Let me just try searching for iMac on their main page. Because yours is, or explore categories. That's what I was looking for. Devices. So they try and help you by giving you a visual guide, but you can see that the iMacs they look so similar. You're really going to have an idea of what year it was.
Yeah.
And
I probably have that somewhere here in the computer. I can look that up.
Yeah, and then you can traverse their site, or I'll help you do it, and we can look at how easy it is to change the hard drive in it. What all's involved in a hard drive update.
Or maybe I could take it to Apple and they could do it for me.
I'm afraid you're welcome to do it, but I'm afraid their answer is probably going to be it's too old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but that was going to be my suggestion, is that you should find a local guy like me that does these kinds of repairs and trade out, especially because it's a really nice screen. It's all about what it'll cost to get that hard drive changed that's behind the screen. What all's involved in that? How much labor is involved in that? Whether it's worth it or not. Now, there's another option. Depending on the model, you could replace it with an external solid state drive. You'd probably I
have two of those.
Well, I'm thinking a solid state drive. Do you have a solid state drive?
I have two solid state drives.
Okay. So you could dedicate one of those with a lightning connector to drive the computer. And so you could install the operating system and you could just disconfigure the hard drive inside the computer. You would need somebody like me, I think, to get you going, but afterwards you'd be good to go. It's just the computer wouldn't function without that external hard drive.
Well, let me ask you another question because of my concern about the continuing livelihood of this computer. You know, I had such a horrible experience with OneDrive, but I also know that OneDrive can be used as just a backup, a complete backup, so that I could take everything off of this computer and put it on my laptop, for example. But I don't know. I've not figured out how to set that up so that I don't want to turn my computer over to OneDrive. I don't want OneDrive handling my files. I just want OneDrive to back me up only.
Right. So what you're talking about is using a backup program and the OneDrive file space.
Right.
So I mean that's essentially what you'd be looking for, is something that would support using OneDrive as its backup location. I believe that the Windows backup software will do that, but let's just see backup software. Drive storage. Let's just see what pops up.
This may be applicable to other members that are of the club here that may want to use that as a backup.
Sure, yeah.
I don't want them taking over my computer and handling my files because of the disaster before.
Well, I think that's a great topic. I'm going to put it in our list of topics. Nothing's jumping out at me, and nothing's saying specifically that Microsoft software will do it. So I'm going to add it here and do some more research on it.
Well, I have a backup program then and a backup disk that I'm using external, but my concern is I don't think I can reinstall that on my laptop.
On a new, on a Windows computer, you don't think you can get the backup software installed?
Yeah. Anyway, I've spent too much time on this subject. So.
Well, I'm gonna do some, because I think that you can set up the OneDrive to be a destination for Windows backup.
I think you're correct.
Yeah,
but I haven't figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I just need to see if there's some reasons you wouldn't do it. I can think of how to do it. And if it stopped me from doing that, then, because Windows software does that from time to time. Like, you think of something like that, and you're like, oh, that'll be easy. I just have to do this. I'll treat it like a hard drive. And then you get into it, and it's intentionally blocking you from doing it.
And particularly since this is, that is Windows Cloud.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is that if you're intentionally being blocked from following that paradigm of thought, being able to do that the way you can, then there's typically a reason for it. There's either a technical reason it won't work, or there is a pricing tier reason, and it's a service additional that they're selling, whoever it might be. I'm not singling out Microsoft. It's just whenever you run into that kind of thing, like I want to use Dropbox as my backup software. Well, maybe Dropbox has decided if you're going to do that, you have to pay an extra monthly fee. And so it's just a matter of researching whether it's technically possible, because if fundamentally, it seemed I can rationalize my whole way of thinking how you could set it up to do that. I've never done it before, but I can play it out in my mind. What typically in those scenarios will happen is you'll get deep into that play out, and you'll all of a sudden find, oh wait, I'm not able to do this. I intentionally am not. It's not offered as an option. And that's the question, is why isn't it offered as an option? Maybe technically it absolutely cannot be used that way.
Because you see, I'm already paying for Office 365.
Right. Well, here's the thing I can see is, at the very least, you could use an external drive to do the backup and then dump that into your terabyte of storage space with OneCloud. So you just grab that whole backup and move it over physically. And then when you get over to the other computer, you do the same thing. You just physically move it out of the cloud storage, which might make sense under some circumstances. Like, it's probably a lot cheaper to do that and faster than, say, if you were moving an entire computer's backup from one country to another country. It's easier than sending a USB stick or carrying one. right? That might be just the best way to do it.
Well, see, whatever I do, I want to be able to experiment with it, be sure it works the way I want it to work, so that I would go ahead and back it up and then take my laptop and see if I could download it.
Yeah, and you really want a way that is fairly seamless, where you're not part of that workflow. You just want to hit back up, and when you get on the other computer, you just want to hit restore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I'll look into it and see if there's anything in that respect. That is one of the beauties, and maybe one of the reasons you wouldn't be able to do it is that OneDrive is so integrated with Windows. The idea is that you just hand your computer over to it, and your new computer will just fill up with all that stuff in the same place. And I know you've had bad experiences with that, but I've had a lot of really good experiences with it. And it's just changing the way you think about where your data is located at any given time. It also is a paradigm that's very, very, very useful on the Macintosh platform. And I've seen that very, very successfully. People not having, I mean, they pay for their iCloud. They have plenty of space in their iCloud. And by having it set up like that, they don't have to carry around external backup drives or worry about backing stuff up, because every time they're on the internet, whatever new changes have been added to it. So, yeah. That's not available. iCloud is not available to do that for a Windows computer. I don't know if OneDrive allows you to do any of that stuff on a Mac computer. Right now I've got OneDrive on my Mac computer, but the only paradigm that I've seen is it mapped out like a drive. Not like a synchronizing like iCloud will do.
Mm-hmm.
Have we got any other topics that we need to get into today? Is anybody having issues? Mom, you were running out of iCloud for a while there. Did you get that sorted finally?
Well, I just gave up and started paying for more
Okay.
because I don't know. That was the iCloud. Yeah. So my new issue is my time machine is full, and I want to know, can I delete the time machine stuff, old stuff, and be able to continue to use it?
Yes. What's odd is it's supposed to be making those decisions for you.
Well, it keeps telling me it's full. And
yeah.
I don't know.
It seems like it should be. I'm looking for anything right in front of me on my Macintosh. Time machine is full.
I did dump pictures on it. At one point, I had to get stuff off. I didn't have another external drive, so I dumped a bunch of pictures on it, but I believe I've removed all of those pictures.
Time machine usually deletes old backups automatically. This is verifying what I'm thinking. So something's not getting back. There are rare occasions when you still need to take matters into your own hands. Old backups in the Time Machine app. Oh. What is this?
I can't read it. It's blurry on the computer screen here.
I'm sorry. It is. Here, I'm going to...
No worries.
I'm going to drop it in our chat message, which we've got only 4 minutes until we'll have to switch to another, and these chats will disappear. So if you need any of these links, now's the time to click on them, because we're going to be switching meets in just a little bit, and those will all disappear. Well, we can share them again if necessary. Oh, there we go. It looks like you can just drag them to the trash.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, but I can go back now and get into the Time Machine and search out what? What do I look
Yeah,
for?
if you look in the backup folder, there should be a folder named after your computer. And then inside of that folder will be a list of files that are listed by date. In fact, I'm telling you this, and I could be just looking at my own Macintosh. Yeah, it's by year, month, day, and timestamp.
Okay.
And you should be able to just delete the oldest stuff. To delete a backup, drag that folder to the trash. Make sure to empty the trash before ejecting your backup drive, otherwise your deleted backup will stay in there taking space.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, that's another thing you might do if you had anything on your Time Machine backup that or on that drive that you think you've deleted. It probably won't be reflected as space until you empty the trash can.
So all of those photos that I had dumped on there and then taken off is probably still sitting there.
Yeah, probably still sitting in the trash, taking up space. But so yeah, this article here shows exactly that. And I can help you with it later too.
Okay. Okay.
And we're going to lose our call in under a minute, so I'm going to open up the next call right now, and I will meet you guys on the other side. Remember, we're using a new code, so look for something within this season if you're looking for a link and you don't have it. It should be on the most recent emails and the most recent blog posts. Oh, look, everybody's here. That was a quick transition. There we go. I'm going to stick this link on our document as well. Here comes Chester.
I have a question for you, Scott.
Yeah, Pop, go ahead.
You know, I turn on my computer with my finger touching this, whatever they call it, finger touch thing.
Okay.
It's telling me I need to clean it. What should I clean it with?
You're okay. This is the fingerprint reader, right? This is what authorizes you. That and other components. Most computer components, I feel very comfortable using an alcohol, like a rubbing alcohol. I cut it with some distilled water. So I'll make up a little mixture for myself that'll probably be like 70% alcohol and it'd be probably more like 60% alcohol, 40% water. Yeah, something like that. Like 2/3 alcohol, 1/3 water, and use it sparingly, just enough to wet like a towel that has no lint. A lint-free kind of towel or a microfiber kind of towel, and you can wipe it down with that. Yeah, you want to have more alcohol than water so that it evaporates the water. It doesn't leave moisture on your... In fact, I'm much more concerned about the water than I am the alcohol. So if it's more alcohol than water, the more alcohol, better. Because it's the moisture of the water that's the concern.
Yeah. I get it. Okay, thanks. Sounds good.
Yeah, and I use that kind of mixture on keyboards and screens and touch devices because it's a bit of a solvent, but it evaporates, so it doesn't leave. It's non-static, so it doesn't connect electronics. Doesn't short out anything. I like baby wipes for keyboards and external things on the computer. Just your basic. I like baby wipes that don't fall apart. They can't be flushable wipes. I like the Kirkland And what's the Walmart brand?
We don't have much in the way of baby wipes since all of our grandchildren are in their teens. So
Yeah, I still buy them though. The Members Mark brand is what I got here.
okay.
And the reason you'd buy baby wipes versus computer wipes is because computer wipes they charge you a lot more money for.
I see.
Right.
And so if you buy baby wipes, what's important? Baby wipes are really, they can't flush, because if they can flush, they'll fall apart while you use them to clean stuff.
Oh.
And they can't. You don't want perfumes. You want to right. You don't want any lotions or perfumes in it. You just want a little bit of soap. Sometimes a little bit of alcohol base is fine. In fact, I'll pour alcohol into my baby wipes at times, depending on what kind of project I'm cleaning.
Okay, so you got those at Sam's Club then?
Yeah, or Walmart. They're Members Mark.
Oh, Walmart. Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right, well, thank you.
and that's great because you get sticky stuff on your computer. It's great for cleaning the outside of the computer. Get all that gunk off the outside. Get the gunk off the keyboard. Oh, one thing that I would say, if you do like me and use wipes like this to clean computers, if you're using, I don't like the Clorox wipes that you use for cleaning the kitchen or the bathroom. The main reason I don't like them is because they have excess liquid in them. And so they don't evaporate quickly, and they have each towel has a lot of liquid. When I've found myself in situations where I've chosen to use those, I make a point of wringing out the towel before I use it. I take the towel and I wad it in my hand and I wring it out over the sink so that it's a much drier towel before I touch any of the electronics with it.
Yeah,
Good to know.
that makes sense.
Yeah. My little clean computer hacks. All for you.
Okay.
Hey, what do you use for your screen?
I use the baby wipes as well, but I typically follow it up with something that will evaporate fairly quickly, like an alcohol-based thing. Sometimes I'll use Windex, but it's the same problem with Windex. You really want to make sure you don't oversaturate what you're doing, because the bigger concern is that moisture dripping onto something critical.
Right.
And so I'd rather go over a screen with rubbing alcohol than with Windex, just because there's less chance you're gonna fry something. You do want to be slightly concerned, a lot less since we've gotten into touch screens. I mean, older computers that are older than 12 years old, the screens would have their own proprietary finish on them. Their matte finish and their glossy finishes would be some special thing that HP came up with or Dell came up with. And it was quite possible to get an abrasive solvent that could take off whatever that is. You might end up damaging the matte finish with some aggressive solvent. Whereas nowadays it's not a real concern anymore. Like Apple likes to make a really big deal about it. They sell a rag, a microfiber rag for $20 for you to wipe your phone and your tablets down with. But really, because you can touch them, because these devices get hand oil on them every day, all the time, they're very durable screens compared to where we were before. Baby wipes work great to clean all this stuff. So you might have had some concerns in the past, but I assure you there is a lot less concerns in this day and age. Well, if people don't have more questions about their tech and things that they're trying to do, I did bring a few articles I thought might be relevant to us. I'll start with, do we still have Bill and Cheryl, or did we lose them? I thought they would appreciate that.
There's Bill. Bill's still there.
Oh, Bill's
I'm
still with
here.
us. I thought they would appreciate that. Well, now that I say that, I guess it's the part they would appreciate is iOS 16.1 is coming out for iPad. I think it was just released either today or yesterday. And then for anyone that has a current Macintosh, the Mac OS 13 Ventura is now released. A word on Ventura: if you are a qualifying product, I would hold off. This is a major release. This is my standard recommendation. Wait 2-point releases before you dip into this, and you will save yourself a lot of headaches. The people that upgrade to this stuff right off the bat are the ones that are being used as guinea pigs, and if you enjoy being that person, I do, then go right ahead. But if this is a device that you want to have turn on like the appliance you try and use it is, I don't recommend you jump into this lightly. And since this is the first release of Mac OS 13, I would wait until 13.2 before I would commit my system. And if I committed my system, it would be because I know I have got a really good backup of everything that matters to me. This article, however, does go through all the things to expect from the new Macintosh operating system, as well as a guide of the devices that will be compatible with it. One of the criticisms of this latest operating system is how it is quickly dropping support for older computers. Almost arbitrarily, kind of like what Microsoft did with Windows 11. Ironically, not quite as grievous. They are requiring that it's a 7th generation Intel if you're going to run the latest operating system. If you remember, Windows 11 won't run on a 7th gen Intel. It must be an 8th or higher. I don't know if Apple has done this just to kind of poke Microsoft in the eye, but it's if it is, then it's kind of shallow, because at the same time, what they've done is they've discounted, not discounted, that's the wrong word. They have cut off support for computers. They've cut off about 3 years of support that they were offering in the past when you had an old Macintosh. You expected about 3 more years of support than this latest version is going back to. So even though they're saying it'll run on 7th generation or newer, the models specifically are 3 years younger that are going to be compatible than what would happen in previous releases. I guess the best way, I'm trying to simplify this, but I guess the way my brain would look at it is the computer you owned before would get 7 years of support. Now with this latest operating system, that computer you own gets 4 years of support. And so if you go back, these aren't the accurate numbers, but if you do go back 4 years, that's about the time those models are getting cut off. So it's got a list here. 2017 seems to be about the oldest computers that are compatible with the newest software. 2017 iMac, iMac Pros, 2017 MacBooks and MacBook Pros are all being supported. 2018 Mac Minis, 2019 Mac Pros are all supporting this latest operating system. And what that reflects is a change where the operating system before, the Monterey, was going back as far as 2000 and 2014. So that's a criticism of the new operating system. Other than that, though, the article is full of great information. It's from Ars Technica, and Ars Technica always has great information. And so it goes in depth talking about the latest Macs and the older Macs, and it has information on what to do with those computers that have fallen out of support in your life, which I found fascinating, and added a couple extra topics to today's document of possible topics, which also includes Chrome Flex OS. And we had talked about this at the beginning of the year, but the Chrome Flex OS is the operating system that Chrome has been using on their computers, modified to run on old computers, old Windows computers and old Macintosh computers, as well as computers that are already running Linux. You could change those to the Chrome OS. And what I've put a link in our document to is a help file from Chrome, from Google, that lists all the certified, this is by means not every device that Chrome will run on, but it is everyone that Google has spent the time to certify those models as being compatible with Chrome OS Flex. So you can, if you had any questions about that old computer that is not going to run Windows 11, may already not be running Windows 10 because it's so old, you could come to this list and see what Chrome OS Flex version may be available for it. And there is a list of Apple products, which is pretty impressive. I looked them up, and it is supporting Mac computers that are up to 10 years old. So even though I do have one that's 15 years old and still relevant, still works for us, that one would not be compatible. Many of you out there do have computers that may have fallen out of support a few years ago. Like I was saying, that 7-year number is pretty special in the Mac world. And we all probably have Windows 10 computers that are not going to go to Windows 11. So after 2025, there's not going to be a support direction for those. Those will either be Linux computers or quite possibly Chrome OS Flex. And so I think I'm going to start playing around with this version of Chrome OS on the old computers that I have in my life to see how well they work. It might be an easy way to breathe life into computers for, seriously, people that computer labs in schools that don't have the budget to upgrade. Folks that don't have the economic means to buy new computers. This will give you a secure, modern operating system to be in the cloud doing whatever work it might be, homework, research, shopping, bill pay, and you're not having to go out and replace your equipment. Wow, there's a lot of Dells certified on this list.
How about HP?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a whole slew of HPs on this list. The tough part is most PCs, by the time they reach their out of OS support, they're pretty well abused by this point. So like keeping them around isn't necessarily the thing you have in mind. It's batteries aren't working, screens are broken, trackpads are iffy. But if you are in that situation, like I said, like a computer lab in an elementary school in an ejido here in Mexico, running old computers that are nobody's going to come along and buy them a dozen new computers, this would be a way to at least keep them relevant. Of course, as an outsourced IT guy, I don't know where my time would be better spent. Upgrading that computer lab I just described for them, or pestering people in San Carlos to donate for new computers. It's a tough call. I also, on our list of news, I thought you guys might find it interesting. I found an article on history.net. Of course, I'm not the kind of guy that surfs history.net, but it was pointed out on like a Google News feed. And it's a history of the Swiss Army knife. And I thought, I bet this crowd would appreciate that. From before World War II all the way up to the NASA space program, the Swiss Army knife has been around. And this article talks about different stories and different improvements, advancements, competition. Even the Guinness Book of World Records for the number of extra attachments. If you can see on my screen now, I'm looking at this document that I shared with you, and I put a picture. This is actually, I think that knife has 87 attachments on it. It's got to be as long as my forearm. Obviously not a knife that would be in real demand. It was built specifically to break the Guinness Book of World Records. But it's still fun to look at. There's toenail clippers in there. And an Allen wrench. A magnifying glass. So if you're a history nut or a gadget nut or both, I recommend this article. It's very interesting reading. Talks about how they got through the Victorinox. Is that how you pronounce their company? How it actually and its main competitor. Look at this. I got so many articles open now. I don't even know where I'm at. Let me close some of this stuff. Cars and iFixit, Macintosh, and news. Here it is. I'm finding it now. History of the Swiss Army knife. So they actually, after 9/11, they took a tremendous blow to their sales because they had relied on duty-free shops to sell their products in so many different countries. And after 9/11, you couldn't buy one to take on a plane anymore. It actually hurt the market so bad that their main competitor that makes the same style knife, I can't remember their name, it starts with an H, actually ended up merging into the same company. And it really was the way they were both able to survive. It looked like both of them were going to suffer and probably fall apart. And the merger was a point of survival for Swiss Army knife. I'll let this go unless people want to add anything to it, but I did have one other point that I thought was interesting from the article. The Swiss Army knife, as we know it in name, is because of the Americans, because they kept seeing these foreigners using this multi-tool, and they found it available in PXs during the war, and they referred to it as the Swiss Army knife. And Victorinox, I don't know if I'm saying their name right, Victorinox, just saw that as a great marketing term and just adapted it and made that the name for both consumer and army stuff. It forever, after the Americans wanted to buy it, changing it to Swiss Army knife increased both military and civilian sales. I don't see the other company's name here, but Winger is the company they were in competition with until they finally merged into the same company. and it's Winger that had 87 tools on that picture I was showing you earlier. Anyway, a little bit of tech gadget history that I thought you guys would find interesting. And then there's still this article that I mentioned to you guys last week, which is really kind of a breakdown of this latest case going up in front of the Supreme Court. It hasn't happened yet. I guess they ruled that they would hear it, but they haven't heard it yet. I did some follow-up because this was at the beginning of the month, and here we are at the end of the month. It doesn't look like they've heard it yet. And I've added another article from The Guardian that was just written a couple of days ago talking about these this case and its impact that it may have in our tech sector. And I appreciated the Vox article is the one that I had linked to last week and mentioned. But I appreciated the Guardian's article on this because it really got me thinking a little differently about 230, putting it in perspective of the timeline that we're on. This clause in internet publishing that was put into place almost 25 years ago that has made it possible for platforms like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, to be able to be, what is the adjective on it? Be protected. That's what I'm looking for. Be protected from what its users say on their platform. That's the crux of the section called 230. In fact, I've quoted it on our document here. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. In a nutshell, what that means is when Jim writes something on Facebook that is pro-Nazism, Facebook is not responsible for it. Jim is responsible for it, and I wish that he wasn't such a Nazi, but he is, and Facebook is not going to care because Facebook doesn't get in trouble. Now, I am joking, of course. Jim is the least Nazi of us all, even though he is one of the whitest here.
But most politicians want to change that.
Well,
To make them similar to newspapers who are responsible for what they publish.
so, and this is great, Chester, because this is one of the things that Trump was concerned about, and I feel like he doesn't understand what his concern is. But the concern, after reading the Guardian's article, I really got enlightened to what the concern is. And it's where these online publishers, these online services have gone beyond being a platform for communication to the act of curation. And the curation that they're talking about in this particular court case is this extremism. The court case is Gonzalez versus Google, and Gonzalez, I think it was back in 2015, died in a Paris terrorist attack, an Islamic terrorist attack. And the case being brought against Google is the fact that these terrorists were radicalized by content that was served up to them through Google's algorithms. And I think the Guardian does a good job of addressing the fact that these algorithms are something different, that have had the protection of 230. And maybe now is a good time to be having this discussion of what kind of protection 230 should be allowed. Now, I see Chester shaking his head yes, and I want you to remember this is not what Trump or the conservatives are talking about. They want protection from being thrown off a platform. And all a readdressing of 230 and looking at the platform versus the algorithms would do is ensure that they would be dropped off the platform.
No, I'm in tune with you.
Okay.
The aspect of it
And
that
I-
I can recall and have read about has to do with putting them on the same liability footing as newspapers and radio stations and TV stations.
Well, and
Information, exactly.
what I like about the way the Guardian has separated these 2 points is that they need a separation. There needs to be rules for when you behave like a platform, and there has to be rules for when you behave with these algorithms that are serving things up. And I do like the idea of some kind of liability for if you've built something that's going to incentivize Nazism, you should be held responsible for that. And so it's the difference between Jim posted something, I follow Jim, I'm going to scroll down my feed, and eventually I'm going to see his Nazi hate platform. I'm sorry, Jim, it's not true. I know you're not posting Nazi stuff. Versus, I like Nazi stuff. Google's keeping track of that. Here's some more Nazi stuff. Look at all this other Nazi stuff. We're going to keep serving you more and more Nazi stuff. And
It's sort of like yelling fire in a movie house. Those are dangerous things to do, and enabling dangerous things to be published without any regard to liability is what the issue is, as far as I'm concerned. Not being kicked off, that's another issue.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think I've had trouble wrapping my head around it until I'd read this article that very distinctly pulls these 2 areas apart and makes it clear that 230 has protected these companies in both those areas. The same protection has been applied to both these areas. But when 230 was created, we didn't have the algorithms happening. What we had were these frameworks for platforms that had just come on the scene, where you could share information with friends and followers, and they could read what you shared, and it would show up for them organically based on who they decided to follow and the time that these people decided to share stuff. It was literally a timeline. If you would have to scroll back in time to see previous things. When they started working on algorithms that would, and I'm sorry, somebody's feeding back through. Paul, I'm going to blame you. Maybe it's Chester too. I'm seeing Chester's popping up. I'm just going to mute you real quick because I can't listen to myself and have a thought at the same time. Chester, you're talking, but I muted you. But this is the part that I wasn't getting until recently, because I'm a big 230, a lot of the internet that we do, regardless of Trump's complaint, he wouldn't be on the internet if we didn't have 230. No platform would trust him because he would say stuff that would get them in trouble with, they'd be liable for stuff if it wasn't for 230. But that was 25 years ago. And I like this approach that we need to hold the algorithms to a different standard than we hold the platform to, the framework for sharing information. And let's nail down that where that liability is, because there are times when if you know Facebook is to blame, you know Google's to blame. Those folks wouldn't be looking at one more cut his head off Jaha video if Google hadn't served it up as the next video to watch. I think I ended up ranting a little bit there, but these are both great articles. They're both. The first one is from Vox. It goes into the history of what we're talking about and the issues of the platforms and this particular legal issue. But I really felt like the Guardian that was just written a couple of days ago really helped divide those 2 areas of thought for me to know where I am now, sitting in a position of let's modify 230. Don't get rid of 230. But let's apply 230 where it's appropriate. And I think there's a lot of algorithmic danger that's been going on recently. And so I think approaching the tech industry with algorithmic regulation makes sense. Because what that algorithm really, I was sharing this with my kids earlier. I've been doing a lot of software development recently. And I just get this real thrill out of being asked to pull a piece of data out of this pool of data and make it useful for somebody. Somebody can make decisions based on it. And I mean, it's a real high to look at this pool of just this glob of data and go, I need it to be this, but this, but this, but this. And it's got to show up in a list of other things that are the same way so that I can make this decision. And I'm talking in generalities because I don't want to point to anything specific. But that's really what you're doing when you're doing this kind of development is you got a core of data and you want to be very specific so you can make decisions. And for me as a developer, I get a real rush off of that. But those are always things that are done to achieve a means, and we're living in a world where that means that's being achieved needs to be analyzed. It needs to be subject to some more scrutiny. Why are you doing that is the question that needs to have regulation about it. And up until we've started having these kinds of discussions, they've been able, their means is whatever they can imagine. When Uber decided to track you all the way into your house, that was they just decided to do it. They had some means behind it. They decided that data was going to be useful somewhere down the line, and they executed. They used it. These are examples of things you would think they would be in a lot more trouble, but they're not in a lot more trouble because it's the first time any of this stuff has been done, and we haven't chosen to scrutinize it. So my new platform is modified 230. And that brings me to the end of my list of topics. We have been going for an hour and almost a half. Chester's waving at me like it's a goodbye. He normally doesn't stick around for any recommendations, but if you guys have any recommendations, maybe this is the time to do it. Mom, are you saying goodbye or you got one to add to the group?
I got a couple here.
Oh, excellent, because I came with nothing this week. It's been chaos. Nobody's gotten to watch anything of quality.
Oh dear. All right. The Patient with Steve Carell is half an hour. Has episodes. I mean, it's a continuing thing. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that. Basically,
No.
Steve Carell is a psychologist, might be a psychiatrist. Now I can't remember. But anyway, one of his patients manages to get him full time, and that's kind of an interesting thing for you to learn when you are on this show, because it's kind of dark. It's a very dark show.
It's a drama,
But,
right?
we've been watching it, and it's a lot of Steve Carell, and he's not funny. He's in a serious predicament, and he does a really fine job of it. Another one we've been watching is called Reservation Dog. It's another 30-minute thing.
Comedy.
And it's about a reservation in Oklahoma, and it's and the kids are all like in late high school, trying to decide their life, and it gives you a really interesting perception of what it's like on a reservation raising.
Sandy, what platform?
Pardon?
What platform?
That one is on Hulu.
Hulu.
I'm sure it showed on something else and then it goes to Hulu, but you can get quite a few of them. I think they're into like their second season now.
Okay.
And then the last one is the Alaska Daily.
Oh.
By golly, they are doing a wonderful job. This is an hour show. It's on ABC on Wednesday nights, but then on Thursday it comes on Hulu. So if you haven't started it and you have Hulu, you could get, from the beginning. And Alaska Daily is not a newspaper that's up here. It's not a real newspaper, but the circumstances with which it's functioning is pretty typical right now for newspapers, hometown kind of newspapers. So that's interesting to see. It has Hilary Swank as its main character, and she
Oh,
has come to this Alaska Daily under circumstances where she got fired from her New York job, and what she's going after are the native women that have disappeared and never been found. So they're
Oh.
cold cases.
Wow, this is a real story. Is this a
This is
drama?
no, this is a real good Alaska story, and a lot of it is filmed in places, Scott, you'll recognize. It shows off Anchorage really well, both good and bad. It takes you out into some villages where you can really look over village life out there and learn some of their problems. We're pretty stuck on it. It's really well done, and of course, what we like most of all is getting to see our state and having the attention
Sure.
put on our state in something that isn't stupid.
Yeah, no, you got me looking forward to
watch
that. I
it.
didn't even know they were making this. I'm gonna check it out as soon as possible.
So that's my three, and like I say, I don't remember where we find the patient. It's probably Hulu. It seems like everything we find these days you can find on Hulu.
The patient is Hulu.
Okay,
And I
so
want
all
to
of
say
these are who.
something about the Alaska Daily. It is just exceptional. It's been created by the same person that created Spotlight in
Oh.
Boston. That was, if you remember that,
Remember it well.
he did such a good job. Yeah. And so what they're really focusing on is the indigenous women here in Alaska that have been hurt or killed or disappeared, and there's never been any decent police follow-up. So they're really going after it in that way. And boy, it is an attention grabber, and it is so well done. And we have a number of native local actors and so forth from Alaska.
Irene Bedard.
Irene Bedard is, she's been featured the last couple. They just completed their third movie. It's on ABC, I think on Wednesday nights, and then it goes to Hulu on Thursday.
Oh.
Have any of you been watching it already?
This is the first I heard of it.
I started looking at it last night. Actually, I was going to watch the premiere episode, but it is available on our cable TV, and up until November 1st, I have access to that. But the problem with the Indigenous women is very, very top of mind in Canada right now as well, with our Truth and Reconciliation and work that we're doing. And Bill and I lived in Hinton, and that highway goes across from the west coast all the way across northern BC, northern Alberta, down through Saskatchewan. You can take the Yellowhead Highway, and it's known as the
Highway of Death.
Highway of Tears.
Oh.
Highway of Tears for the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women along it. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting show.
Right.
I'm really glad. And Sandy, you said it's not silly, so it's no Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, no Schitt's Creek, right? Well, that's kind of silly.
Hey,
Anyway, anybody watched Schitt's Creek? Schitt's Creek.
Well, we have been
amazing.
so disappointed with most Alaska shows.
oh yeah.
This one is just exceptional. We are really excited about it. And we're able to check and see, and it's showing all over the country. So I'm sure there's a lot of people viewing it. And this guy that created Spotlight, he's the writer, the director. He's totally involved in this thing and just doing a great job. We're very excited about it.
I'm not
And they're
familiar
working
with Spot.
they're working with our local daily news then, too. So that's been interesting.
I like the fact that they are actually using the language for the natives that we use up here as well. We don't call them Inuits here. We distinguish their groupings by different names. And it's nice to hear that this show is trying to show, kind of give you historical things without it hammering away at it. I mean, it's a little bit here and a little section there. It's just really exceptional, as Terry said.
Now that's great. Most Alaskan TV productions have been utter garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, the third episode, they are in a village most of the show, and it's just, you really get a feel for what these native villages are like.
Well, I'm adding it to my list.
They don't use real names, I don't think, when they go into the villages. But for other things, they are using the real names from Alaska. They're careful, I think, so there's no liability. But it's just exceptional.
I'd be interested in knowing more about that other series that you mentioned, Spotlight.
It's a
what's
movie,
that?
right?
It was a movie.
I'm putting a link in the document right now. It's 2015.
That was
with Michael Keaton, right? It was. I'm sorry. Am I talking? You want me to keep talking, or am I talking on top of you? It's the true story of how Boston Globe uncovered the massive scandal of child molestation and cover up by the local Catholic archdiocese.
Oh.
And it's
okay.
It's an awesome movie. It's scary, and it just really it changes your perspective on the whole world and the way these groups of power have been behaving.
Okay, that would be kind of interesting to see too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to watching the Alaska one, and at the same time, it might sound kind of funny, but Resident Alien is a science fiction, of course, yes, but it takes place in Colorado. Of course, Jim and Linda Cunningham are from, and I kind of got a feel for that. And there's a real native spirituality, native life proportion in that show as well. So.
Yeah, there is just all throughout it, right from the very first episode, a thread of their native culture. One of the main characters is from a native tribe there, and
yeah, well, there's a few of them, native actors involved, but we really enjoyed it. We finished watching it, and we're waiting for the next series to come out. So.
Reservation Dogs, is that right? I think I found it here.
It's got it seemed like it got recognition during the Emmys, didn't it, Terry? Get some or one of those Emmys or whatever's for TV. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's when I saw it on Facebook the other day, was because it was something recent, and they got, and are they doing another series, or they just released or something, and our friends in San Carlos are watching it, and they highly recommended it. So,
well, it's actually created by this native community that is really focusing on trying to provide some entertainment, I think, about their people that appeal to the general public. And this one is just as funny as can be. And of course, they're teens, so they do all the crazy things that teens do. But it's just, you get a real feel for what it's like for them living in that village, the reservation, I mean.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I gotta cut us off, or you're welcome to stay, but I gotta go. I have got an appointment with a buddy. I'm already late. He's gonna help me change a part on my ailing vehicle to make it not quite as sick as it is. And so hopefully
Which one?
the minivan
Ah,
that we need to stop driving. Jesus, we're paying like $75 a week in gas for this van. It's just, it's nuts. It's like I need to get into an economical vehicle because we're just going to whittle away the money we've got to buy it with buying gas for this. But it's got its own problems. So until I have another vehicle, I got to deal with it. So I got to go. I'm late.
all right, honey. Good luck.
Thank you. You guys have a good
All
day.
right, goodbye.
We'll see you next
Bye.
Tuesday at 10.
Bye.
Until then, everybody, tech on.
Check on.
Bye. Bye, Cheryl.
All right, that was it. We did it again. That was the San Carlos Computer Club. We are done. Looks like we had a really horrible broadcasting to YouTube experience. There's something going on with internet on my end. So I'll probably upload a cleaner copy of this later today. But for now, I've got to go. I'm Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions. If you need a solution anywhere out there on the internet, get a hold of me, scott@internationalcs.net. You can email me anytime. I will answer questions and provide quotes. Whatever I can help you with remotely, I will. If you are interested in our club or other versions, other meetings of this, like I said, we haven't done the podcast this season. That may start up later. It's just we're a little overwhelmed with stuff going on right now. But we do keep a YouTube channel, the San Carlos Computer Club, and you can find it through our website, scclub.org, where we broadcast these meetings right beforehand. There's links, and you'll be able to catch up with us and be part of this meeting. This meeting is for anyone that's interested in tech. San Carlos, both. Everybody's welcome. Anybody that is an enthusiast is welcome to join us. Until next Tuesday, everyone, tech on, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.
The Dream Keepers of today.